Good morning.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I heard the women say thank you too. You guys have often heard me talk about my mom. You would think that I didn't have my dad in my life, but I am a daddy's girl. My mom tells the story of when I was a baby or when I was a toddler, my dad and I are the same complexion. And she tells the story of the fact that when some other gentleman that was the same complexion or darker than my dad would call to pick me up, namely my uncles, I would scream bloody murder. The only man that I would allow for them to pick me up was my dad or someone fairer. I don't know what that was about, but it just was. You could not be my dad's complexion or darker. I would not allow you to touch me. And as a little girl, my dad, he does not drive. We do not know why he refuses to get a driver's license in this country. My mom and I have worked on him for years and years, but as a little girl, when my mom would nag my dad about a license, I used to say, Daddy, don't worry. When I get old enough, I will drive you anywhere you want to go. You don't have to worry. And so my mom reminds me of these things every time my dad asks me to go somewhere and I grumble. She says, no, no, no. You promised this man you would take him wherever he wanted to go as a child. So don't grumble now. My dad was that dad that took care of me because my mom and both my parents worked in the hospital, but my mom had those odd hour shifts of either it's going to be 4 to 12 or 12 to 8, but whatever it was, it never was able to get me ready for school in the morning. And so he would be the one to wake me up and to dress me. And the teachers could always tell when my mom didn't do my hair and my dad attempted to do something, because the hair just never came out just right. And I used to remember the way he would comb it, it was like, I was like, Daddy, is this how you comb your own hair? The combs must go through the hair to the roots. And she said, just go like that. And he would make me my lunch in the morning, and I was such a particular kid, and I didn't like the crust. And whenever my mom made it, she made it with the crust, and I would get upset. And when my dad did it, he would take his time and cut the crust off and do some funky design and cutting, and it never was just a square or a triangle. It was always some creative design. And he liked to cut up carrots for me to eat. And if the carrots weren't cut up to my liking, I would complain, but he would make sure that it was cut up just right. You see, I am a daddy's girl. Right? And when my mom growing up would tell me to go wash the dishes, my dad would say, you sit right there. Right? You sit right there. I love my dad. I didn't have to wash dishes. Or if he decided that I would wash the dishes, he said, okay, you wash the plates and you leave the pots and the pans for me to wash. And my mom said, one day, you're going to have to wash these dishes. And that day came when my idea of washing the dishes was when they got the dishwasher. I was like, oh, I'll do the dishes now. Right? So my dad, he's such an interesting guy. And so one of the things that we would do at nighttime is that he would read me nighttime stories. And the one that he would let me choose my book first, and then he would choose his book to read. And so he would teach me how to read, both my mom and my dad. And then he would say, you have one more book to read, Kassinda. And he would pull out my children's Bible and make sure that I would read it. And he said, you choose the stories. And I usually chose the stories based on which picture I liked. And he would say, okay, we'll read this story together. And he did that for a very long time until I got too old for nighttime, bedtime stories. But he was also the dad that everybody knew on Sunday mornings was walking down the street with his little girl to church. Because he would take me to church every morning, make sure that I went to Sunday school and all of that stuff. And one of the things that used to annoy me the older I got was that my dad taught Sunday school. And I never wanted to be in his class because he always picked on me. And so I was, oh gosh. So the moment I knew that he was going to be my Sunday school teacher, I said, I want to be an acolyte. And that's where I stayed. Because I knew being an acolyte meant I didn't go to Sunday school. Until the new priest came and said, we're going to make Sunday school before service. Can't run away from God. But my dad, he was all involved in the church. He was Sunday school. He was drama teacher at one point. He was on the vestry. He was on the committee to find a new priest. He joined the choir. He was a church man. And he was the Anglican man in the house. And my mom would like to say that she's only an Episcopalian by marriage. Because she liked her lively church, she liked to say. And she had all kinds of interesting things to say about the Episcopal Church. But she came because it was a family affair. And my dad, he walked me to school. So when my parents moved me from public school to private school, it meant that I had to walk past the high school. And my dad was afraid that the high school kids would overwhelm me and his little girl from walking from point A to point B. So he began to walk me. So, you know, what else would I do? Daddy not only walked me, but hold my book bag. It's too heavy. I was a daddy's girl. What do you want from me? I enjoyed every last bit of it. Anything I could get away with my dad, I would try, and often did get away. I was spoiled. But on the other side, my dad was a teacher in St. Vincent. And he taught a lot of people. He started teaching at 16, and he came to this country, and I think he taught twice and decided that he didn't like the teaching system, so he changed careers. But that didn't stop him from being a teacher, because like I said this before, I would come home and have my homework and then my dad's homework. And one of the things that used to annoy me the most was when I didn't know how to spell something. And then he would tell me, sound it out. Well, you know, some words aren't spelled the way they sound. And then he would tell me, go look it up in the dictionary, which was even worse. And I said, Daddy, if I don't know how to spell it, how am I going to find it in the dictionary? And we would have these back and forth conversations. And then he said, okay, now on Saturdays, you can go and play, but before you play, write these sentences down, or write these words, or create for me a story. And I didn't know what he was doing, I just thought he was being mean. And no understanding as to how this would impact my life later on and in my career. He made me, on many occasions, stand in front of he or my mother and just read. For no reason. Read the newspaper, read this, read it out loud. And I was just, I couldn't stand it. But look at the career I'm in now. And it was from those moments of learning to speak out loud in front of my parents that I learned to investigate and read and pick up things when I didn't understand it. I knew to go to the dictionary, or I knew to, if I wanted to say a different word, the same thing in a different way, to go to the thesaurus and pick up things. My dad taught me throughout my life and continues to teach me throughout in my older life. When I had stuff or like research to do for school, you know what my dad would do? He would research and say, here's the information, and give it to me. And some people are like, what? But of course he would tell me also, you must go do your own research, because he never wanted to see just the work that he gave to me in my paper. He said, you must find it yourself. So he was that dad that was there in my life, and now that I'm living home, let me tell you, I used to be daddy, daddy, daddy. Now when I come in and I sit down and I'm talking to my mom, Kassinda, and I'm like, yes, daddy, and he'll say something, and then 10 minutes later he'll call me again, and my mom just rolls her eyes. She's like, your dad has called you in the last 20 minutes 10 times. And each time, I think he just wants to hear your name being called. Because it's like, you know, they're happy that I'm home. They haven't had me home in 10 years. And so he enjoys those things. My dad, though, wasn't just a dad to me. He was a dad to people around him. Those Sunday school young men that didn't have fathers in their lives, they would come to him and they would talk to him and they would share their life stories with him. And he used to just, when I was passing down the street, and sometimes I didn't even know the young people, he would just talk to them, and they would talk to him, and they would say, "Hi, Mr. Ellis, how are you doing?" And he'd just know their stories. And I said, "Daddy, when did you have time to talk to these people?" And he said, "You just always, when you're walking down the street, you have to show kindness to people. You have to go down the street, when you say hello, if you don't know them, it's okay. A little hello won't hurt you." And so he used to teach me that, and I used to be annoyed. I'm like, "But you don't know these people." And then guess what? When I moved to Brooklyn, what was I doing? Walking down the street. "Hello, how you doing?" And everything. People in Brooklyn used to look at me crazy. But you never know how these little things just seep into your life, the things that your parents teach you. And so my dad, he not only showed me kindness to strangers, he worked at Mercy Medical Center. And he worked on 3K. 3K is the mental health ward. And he used to come home and complain about his colleagues. He'd say, "Oh my gosh, these colleagues of mine, they don't treat the patients with respect. They think because they have mental illness that they're not a human being." But my father would always show kindness to them and treat them with respect, honor, and dignity. And because of that, when they would come out, and we lived only 2 blocks away from Mercy, and my father would see them around Hempstead, they would always reach out and say, "Thank you for treating me with kindness." Now you're wondering, what does this have to do with the gospel this morning? Right? But I take that point from where my dad talks about treating people with kindness, especially those with mental illness, into this story this morning. Because in the story this morning, we meet a man named Legion. And Legion has mental issues. Today, we wouldn't say he has demons in him. Today, we would say he has multiple personality, schizophrenia, bipolar, whatever the mental disease we want to put on it. But today, we meet in the gospel this man named Legion, who his society has put him on the outskirts, kind of like how we put mental patients on the outskirts of society today. And Legion is so bad and so out there that the people not only put him on the outskirts, they bind him, chain him, whatever they can do to hold him down so that he does not come back into the town, or he doesn't create havoc or any of those things. And they do these things not because, they're bad, evil people, but they do these things out of fear of not understanding what's going on in this guy's life. And too often when people are going through mental illness, we don't take the time to understand what is going on in their world. We put them in categories, or we ignore them and just say, "Oh, he's special." Or, he's a little bit off, or she's a little bit off, don't worry. Or we don't even pretend like anything's wrong with them. And so Legion has been tossed out by society. The only people looking after him are the swine herders. And so Jesus, for some reason, leaves Galilee and goes into the land of the Gerasenes and goes there. And if you know anything now, what were the Gerasenes? They had swine, right? So what did that mean? Who were they? They're not Jews. And Jesus, throughout Luke, it says, always proclaimed that he's come to save the Jews. Yet he goes across to the land of non-Jews, most likely Roman city, and he encounters a man who's not a Jew, but who's in need of healing and who's in need of compassion and kindness. And he comes across and he meets Legion, and the demons inside of him know who Jesus is and says, "What do you want from us? Please don't send us out into the abyss." And Jesus ignores the demon and speaks straight to Legion by asking him, "What is your name?" He ignores the illness to get at the heart of the man standing in front of him. He shows kindness when others would shun him and push him away. He goes and he says, "What is your name?" Now, everybody knows we love our names, right? If I said your name wrong, you'd be mad, right? If I called you by somebody else's name, especially if you don't like that person, They're going to get annoyed. Our names are special to us. And so Jesus says, what is your name? Our names are a part of our ancestral history. They've been passed down to us. They've been given to us by our parents for a specific reason. And so when Jesus asks him his name, he's asking him to remember who you are. Because right now, he's out of his mind. He doesn't have control of who he is. He doesn't even know who he is, other than to say, my name is Legion, which means many demons within. And Jesus meets him in that space of who he is and shows kindness. And my dad kind of mimics Jesus in a lot of ways in terms of how he interacts with people, whether they are the same or different, whether he doesn't understand where they're coming from or not. We have a lot of gang members on our block that growing up and still do it. We have a lot of drug dealers on our block. That's just the block we live on. And we have a lot of regular folks, just like you and I. And my dad doesn't care, drug dealer, gang member, doesn't matter. How are you doing? How's your life? They all ask about him and his wife because everybody knows about my dad and his wife and everything like that, because my dad doesn't care what walk of life you walk. You are a child of God. And that's what he sees. And that is what he has taught me in the journeys and the many walks that I've walked with him from the house into wherever we go. He taught me how to care for people no matter what the situation. And Jesus in this moment is showing us the way. We may not understand mental illness. We may not always understand where people are coming from. They may not be the person we would see ourselves having a conversation with, but they still need love, care, and support. He may have come to save the Jews, but this man who's not a Jew is in need of healing, and he doesn't discriminate. He says, what is your name? I want to reach out and into you and into your life and go deeper than surface level. That's something that we are all called to do in our daily walk in life. And so the man says his name, and the demons within, this is, Mother Ellis loves, her favorite meat is pork. And I still hate this story for what they did to these poor, innocent pigs. All right? But nonetheless, that's where they go, and now we have suicide animals that kill themselves because these demons cannot remain. The behavior or the thing that is causing you to be against God cannot remain. God will and always does take care of you. And so that guy goes from being one with many minds to one who is right and sound in mind. He goes from being naked in front of the world to being clothed and with God's grace and love and salvation. He encountered Jesus in one way, and in that encounter, he came out fresh and clean on the other side. When you are kind to people who you never know how you will impact their lives, even by simply saying hello, even by simply saying good morning or giving that hug or that touch, it changes people when we connect from the true part of ourselves, truly loving God and kindness. I think about the young men that my dad has taught and mentored over a lifetime who have come back to the church and said thank you because their father wasn't there. I think about the many young ladies, especially my cousins, who the only male figure they've known because their father has not been existent in their lives is my dad and my uncle, but mainly my dad because we live that close. And how he shaped them and talked to them and shown them that men can be kind and loving too, that they both can exist and not just the ones that walk away. My dad has been that example of Christ on earth. And the same example that he shows to others, he shows to me, and that trickles down throughout my lifetime and those who I've encountered on my journey. Jesus this morning is calling us to have compassion, to treat people with kindness, To not just simply look at them and say, I don't understand, and walk the other way or turn the other way, but to face them. Because you know what, at the end of the day, I don't know if it was psychologist Albert Ellis or Anton Boysen who said we all have a little bit of schizophrenia in us, right? We all have some mental problem that plagues us. It may be a mild case of depression. It may be a mild case of anxiety. This might be a mild case of just fear or OCD. Some of us have OCD and don't even know it. We all have a little bit of mental something in us. And thank God someone reached out to us and talked to us and supported us and loved us enough to see us through. And that's what people need in life, to be reminded that we are loved and cared for. And so it's not just that women that care, but men can care as well. And men do care more than we ever think. Now, one of the things I always said is that my dad never says I love you. Because I don't know if it's a manly thing or what, I don't know what it is. But he always says, be good. That is his phrase. Even this morning as I was leaving the house, he opened up the door and said, have a good day, be good, and don't speed. Because I got 2 speeding tickets. For those of you who don't know, there's a camera on 224th Street and Jamaica Avenue. And I learned that this week because I got 2 tickets by camera. So be careful. The cameras get you not only from going through lights, but catch you in speeding. But my dad will never stop saying be good. And the one time I heard my father say, Kassinda, I love you, or 2 times. The first time was when my parents dropped me in Chicago, and my father realized that I wasn't going back with him. And he just turned to me, and it was like you could see it was struggling to come out. But he said, I love you, and be good. And then when I was ordained, he was so proud. He said, I love you, and also be good. If my dad didn't say be good to me, I'd probably be more depressed than rather than hearing him say I love you all the time. Because I know that his be good means I love you. And sometimes I used to think, does he even talk about his family? Because, I never know. He's not a talker per se of of his feelings. But when you get around his colleagues, he used to say, oh my God, your father says nonstop about him and his wife and his daughter. That's all we know. Wife, daughter, nothing else goes on in this man's life. And that just kind of gave me joy to know that my dad is so proud of his family that everybody else out there knows, but we just are told to be good. Dads are special. And if you don't think that you're important to us as fathers, please know from my own experience, you are. I can't imagine a life without my father, having him there growing up. And if you know people who don't have fathers in their lives, or even if they do have fathers, nothing stops you from reaching out and talking to young people. We as girls and women need fathers to show us the way. Young men need fathers to show them how to be men. We as women, we raise our children, but I can never know what it feels like to be a man, and what you go through emotionally. And so we need men to mentor young boys in this world. We need fathers to be fathers. And let me just say this to moms. If you and your significant other are separated, fine, that's between you and him. Don't bring your child into it. Allow your child to love their father as that, the man in their life. Don't drive them so far away that they have this negative view of their father, especially if he's a good man to his child. Allow the father to be a father in their children's lives. And let's stop breaking down and getting angry because of whatever it is. Whatever happened to you as 2 grown adults, the children have nothing to do with it. Amen. Right? The children have nothing to do with it. Somehow you two found to be good enough at the beginning. Stick with that and give that to your child. But don't give them a negative view of their father if that's not who he is with them. If there's a struggle in the custody battle, learn to share. Look, they're equally yours. My mother couldn't have me without my dad. Right? And I just say that because so often it's not the father that's the problem. And I'm just speaking out of my experience of counseling. We women don't know how to let go of grudges. And so we have the control. And I'm just saying it here that men need to be a part of their children's lives. And if they're able to be it, and if they're willing to do it, don't be that roadblock that prevents it. Because you're not doing your child any favor in not knowing who their father is. And men, if you messed up, admit it. Recognize it. If you are still breathing on this earth, you have time to go back and say, I want a second chance, a third chance, 100th chance, whatever it is. Do what you have to do to show your children what it means to be a good man, what it means to ask for and seek forgiveness. Because see this man Legion out here, he was so happy that Jesus had gave him salvation. He wanted to stay with Jesus, but Jesus said, go home. Usually Jesus said, you can follow, right? But he said to this man, no, go home and face what you have to face. Sometimes it's easier to just keep moving because you've changed rather than to go back and face what has to be faced. And I'm pretty sure the townspeople were they were afraid so much that they asked Jesus to leave, but even more afraid of who's coming back home to us. Who is this changed person? Because all we know how to relate to is the person who has the mental illness, not this well put together individual. But if he had not gone home, that would be where the story ends. And people wouldn't know that there's an opportunity of real change if we allow it to happen. But he went back home and he started spreading the good news of God all around. So all I'm saying, man, is if you make a mistake and you have truly changed in your heart, go back home. Go back because your children need you. And they need to understand that change is possible in our lives and in their lives. Allow that to take place. And it's not going to be an easy thing because when you are hurt, you don't forget. You don't forget. But if you come back genuinely, and if you take the patience that God has placed in your heart, and you just wait it out and wait it out, something might happen. Something might change. There might be a spark. Even if they say, okay, I don't want you close to me, but every once in a while give me a call and I'll call you, that's better than nothing. It's a start. On this Father's Day, I wish all the fathers, those who have given birth to people, and those who have just been the father figure in a life, I give you thanks and praise for the work that you do and continue to do in many people's lives. And I pray that God continues to guide you and give you wisdom on this earth. And please remember, always, always have compassion, even when you don't understand. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, I forgot this at the 8 o'clock service again. So one of the things my dad does, I told you, he reads the Bible every day, and he's been doing that since I was born, before I was born. And so this is a book that I gifted to him in a few months ago, and he hasn't stopped putting it down. It's the Bible in a year. So if anybody's interested in reading it, he seems to find it very helpful as he reads the Bible. If you're interested, just let me know. It's called the Bible Challenge. So challenging yourself to read all of Scripture in 1 year, and it's guided and it has meditations for you. And it's easy. You can start, it tells you to start on a Monday of any month, and you can read it through. So I leave that for you and offer it to you. It's from Forward Movement. You can either say, Mother Ellis, I want to order the book, and we'll order it in bulk, or you can go on forwardmovement.com and order it yourself. But I lift it up to you this morning.